Good afternoon, everyone, and I'll pose a question for you. What do bottles and sheriffs have in common? Well, never normally a good thing because you're either getting them thrown at you or you're on the bottle and losing your job. So, a naval war game involving the bottle class submarine and one of the Sheriff Law Patroller boats, Sheriff John Stone himself, themselves. So, what has happened here? Well, the sheriff boat was responding, or the law boat, I should say, it's just called Sheriff John Stone, was responding to concerning reports of smuggling in a bay on the west coast of the Malagasy What If state. This is a coastal patrol vessel, and it was responding in coastal waters and just going into the bay. Now, the water off the Malagasy coast is nice and clear, unlike the water around the UK, which is various colours. And as it was going into that area, it saw first a snorkel and a periscope, and then a fast diving submarine which went underneath it. Now, that is very suspicious, and they quickly raised the alarm. Now, the sheriff class of patrol boats doesn't have a sonar, but they could very clearly see the shape and silhouette of the diving submarine as it was trying to get out of their way. So they almost got hit by the periscope and raised the alarm. What is it doing there? Now, the Malagasy state has been on high alert since they wiped out the airbase and some of the Tu-22 bombers of the Marmatians. So it's possible that the Marmatians are planning to hit back, and there is an oil pipeline. So if we look at the map, here we go. Here is Oilam, which is where Mozambique is. This is the Mozambique Strait, which I've called the Oilam Strait. Marmatia up there, up the top, the bad guys. And then down here is where the incident happened. The oil rigs are over here, and there is an oil pipeline which runs across there. So, very suspicious that this submarine of Marmatia is in Malagasy coastal waters. And what was more suspicious was after the sighting of this submarine, which they, of course, reported on their digital data-linked communication systems and their radio, they sent up their drone, and they found that in the area of the bay, and if we zoom in on the bay here, there was some diving equipment, some scuba equipment on the shore there, and the remnants of what looked like some sort of diving equipment in this area. So very, very suspicious activity. So this then poses the question, well, how did the bottle class submarine get here? If it indeed was a Marmatian bottle class sub. So up here at the top, we have the Comoros Islands. This is the Marmatian and Oilam boundary. This is a heavily disputed fought over war zone border area. And this is the first line of sonar sensors. That is 50% built. It's not 100% built, it's being built. And protecting that and above that is a Type 21A Malagasy submarine on patrol. Where this says N1, November 1, that's the Comoros Islands, and that's where there's a Malagasy naval base. This second line here, where this bottleneck is the central sonar line, which is 25% built. So it's being built in the minute. So the bottle class submarine may have sneaked through one of these sonar lines, or both, or used the Oilam coastal waters, which are relatively badly patrolled, because the Oilams don't have a lot of maritime patrol aircraft. There is a southern sonar line down here, but with the range, it hasn't come that way. So what is going to happen? Well, this is going to become a naval war game. The hunt for this bottle class submarine. And there's a few assets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it open to a pole, and then I'll come back and fight the next part of the war game. So let's have a look at the disposition of resources. So there is a Type 21A submarine on patrol in this area. N1 is the Comoros. There is 3 micro corvettes based there, the Kanga class corvettes. And at N2, which is a bit further down, there are 3 micro class corvettes. And at N3, which is right down the bottom, there's a Type 23 frigate. And there's actually 2 micro corvettes on patrol of the 9 up here where that P is. So there are some resources which can respond. There is also a CASA C-295 Maritime Patrol Aircraft Squadron here with 6 available anti-submarine kitted maritime patrol aircraft. So really, as the commander, you are saying, well, what's this bottle class submarine doing, and can we prevent it and intercept it getting back to Marmatia? It doesn't have a huge amount of range. It doesn't have a huge amount of endurance. It can spend 1 week submerged without snorkeling. However, this is around 200 miles wide at the top and around 400 miles wide at the widest point, and this is around 1,000 miles of ocean, and it's well used by shipping. The next thing that has to be considered is what was the submarine doing and what was the diving equipment doing there. So we can look at that and we can look at the responses. So this is the Bay Area itself. Just to orientate, that's Madagascar there. And just to orientate at the top, that's a detailed view of the Comoros Islands. So what the commander has decided to do is deploy one of the battle group companies, the MEF companies. This is Company C from one of the battle groups. He's decided to deploy them down by Chinook in this area to block and search that area. So there's going to be a few bits going on, and they need to find out whether someone has been infiltrating. Now, overall, there's a couple of responses to this situation, and I'll throw these out for the poll as we get into wargaming, and I'll pick up your poll responses, and then I'll do the next stage with the dice. So the first option is that the Malagasy commander can scramble all of these naval and air assets and the MEF troops there, which is a company reinforced by the Pathfinders. They probably won't need to take the anti-tank vehicles, but they will take the other vehicles with them. They can set up some mortar positions too in case it is a heavily armed saboteur group. They can scramble the CASA C-295 MPAs, and they can put all of these naval resources, the 9 micro corvettes, into this channel and start working a search pattern, and they can dispatch the Type 23 down south to run a search pattern here. The other option is that they go for a stealthy approach. Now, the stealthy approach could be that they just take the Type 212 submarine to the gaps in the sonar system, and then the Type 212 does a stealthy search looking for this submarine. Now, there's political consequences in all of these. If you suddenly start dispatching troops to screen off an area and look for saboteurs near a pipeline, there are political consequences. Also, there's political consequences of dispatching all of these resources. Someone may wonder what is a foot and may wonder why all these resources are being ploughed into the channel. The downside of not doing anything is that the Marmatians have been able to penetrate Malagasy defences. A big scandal for the government, like the Swedish submarine scandal, which is probably an American sub. Well, it might have been American sub, it might have been Russian, no one really knows. So a lot going on here. Now, the choices for the bottle class submarine commander are even worse, and we'll come on to those next week. But he has limited range. He needs to get out of this area here. He can go south. He could possibly claim exile in South Africa, or he'd have to run all the way around in international waters. If the bottle class commander goes north, he could be running into problems. So let me know what you think. I'll put this up, but that gives a briefing for the war. Let me know any thoughts, feedback, questions, comments, and that is how the Sheriff got close to being bottled.